Picture this. You're rushing through a bustling airport, the gates are about to close, and an urgent announcement blares over the loudspeaker, but it's completely, well, unintelligible. Or you're faced with a stern customs officer, and suddenly every single English phrase vanishes from your mind. Ever been caught in that moment of silent panic? Kind of wishing you had a secret linguistic superpower. Welcome to Daily English Practice. Listen and speak. Today we're doing a deep dive. Our mission really is to equip you, our listener, with the essential English phrases and just as importantly, the understanding behind them to navigate any airport with confidence and, ease. This isn't just going to be a list of words. Think of it more like a shortcut to being properly well-informed. We've sifted through expert sources to pull out the insights that are truly crucial for your journey. It's not just what to say, but why it actually matters.
Yeah, and that why is huge. It's more than just vocabulary. The real insight, I think, is how these phrases work like a kind of universal handshake, especially in what can be a really high-stress, often multilingual place like an airport. They're not just words, they bring predictability. Knowing them doesn't just lower your travel stress, it helps things go smoother, makes transitions easier. It genuinely enhances your whole travel experience because communication just feels, well, more effortless. Airports, let's face it, can be huge and confusing, but knowing the right phrases, that's key for a stress-free trip.
Absolutely. Having that toolkit really does change everything. So, okay, let's unpack this adventure, starting right at the beginning, the check-in desk. That first human interaction point where getting a few key phrases right can make all the difference for a smooth start. When you walk up to the counter, the most common opening is pretty simple. I'd like to check in for my flight, please.
Right. And from there, the agent usually takes the lead. You should expect questions like, where are you flying to today? Or maybe, what's your final destination? And of course, the essential one, may I have your passport, please? These are really foundational. They make sure you're on the right flight, you are who you say you are. The main insight here, I suppose, is that you're establishing your identity and your purpose right away. Those first few sentences kind of set the tone for everything that follows.
That makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
Okay. And then comes the luggage question, which, as you hinted, can sometimes land you with a surprise fee if you're not ready for it. The agent will typically ask, are you checking any bags? And you might say, yes, I have one bag to check, or specify the number. Understanding the jargon here is pretty important. Checked bags, those are the bigger ones that go down into the cargo hold. They often put them on a scale first to check the weight. And then there's your carry-on luggage. That's the smaller bag you actually take onto the plane with you.
Exactly. And the potential hidden cost often lies with those checked bags, especially if your flight isn't direct, if it involves, say, stopovers or layovers. A really crucial question to ask at check-in is, do I need to pick up my luggage there? The answer you're really hoping for is, no, it'll go straight through. That tells you your bags are tagged all the way to your final destination, which saves you a massive hassle. But yeah, be ready for potential oversized baggage fees or overweight baggage fees. And these aren't small amounts. It can easily be, $75 up to $300. And some U.S. airlines might even charge you for all check bags, maybe $15 to $30 a piece. The insight. Always check your specific airline's baggage rules before you even start packing. Honestly, buying a cheap luggage scale for home, it can pay for itself many times over. Oh, and if you have delicate things in your bag, it's perfectly fine to politely ask, please mark this bag as fragile.
That's a fantastic tip. Planning ahead saves so much trouble and money. Now, specifically for flights going to or even within the U.S., you'll often run into some extra security questions right there at check-in. They can feel a bit repetitive sometimes. What's the deeper reason, the insight into why they ask these specific things? Is there like a common thread they're looking for?
Oh, absolutely. These questions aren't random at all. They're based on intelligence, on real-world threats, and they're part of a global security setup. So when they ask, did you pack your bags yourself? Or has your luggage been in your possession at all times? They're directly trying to counter potential threats, like someone tampering with your bag. The insight is understanding you're playing a part in this bigger security system. You're not just answering random questions. So you'll answer yes to those. And also yes to, are you aware of the regulations regarding liquids in your carry-on? That's the reminder about the 100-milliliter limit, all in that one clear quart-sized bag.
Right. And then obviously you'll answer no to the others, like, are you carrying any firearms or flammable materials? Or have you left your luggage unattended at any time? And definitely no to, has anyone given you anything to carry on the flight? It really comes down to personal responsibility and just being aware for everyone's safety. That's crucial in air travel. Okay, let's move on. Now we get to the bit that often feels really intense for travelers, going through the security checkpoint. This part seems to need more close attention than actual conversation.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's very much a choreographed process. Understanding the sequence, what equipment you'll see, that's the key. You'll definitely see the X-ray machine with its conveyor belt, and those bins for your smaller items like keys and phones. Then you walk through a metal detector, and sometimes, for a more thorough check, there might be a body scanner. The insight here. Security is mainly about observation and just doing what you're told. Your job is basically to listen carefully to the commands and follow them quickly. You'll hear common instructions like, please lay your bags flat on the conveyor belt and use the bins for small objects. You might need to ask, just to be sure, do I need to take my laptop out of the bag? Often, yes. They'll likely tell you, take off your hat and your shoes too. Or empty your pockets, please. If an alarm goes off when you walk through, they might say, please step back. Do you have anything in your pockets, keys, cell phone, loose change? You'll also hear, put all electronics in a separate bin. Always good to have your passport out and ready. And then, eventually, step through the scanner, please.
And if that alarm does go off, which, let's be honest, can happen to anyone, you could just say, the alarm went off. Or maybe explain what caused it. Like, oh, my key set off the alarm. Pretty straightforward.
Totally. And look, if a security officer says something like, I need to search your bag, the best response is just to stay calm. A simple, sure, no problem, works perfectly. The absolute most important thing here is just stay calm, be cooperative. Security might feel a bit intimidating, sure, but it's necessary. And just think about the adventure waiting for you on the other side.
Okay, good advice. So you've made it through security. Maybe you've grabbed a quick coffee. But then echoing through the terminal comes that announcement, often kind of mumbled. Decoding airport announcements can feel like a real mission sometimes, can't it?
It really can. I mean, they're designed to be clear, but you factor in different accents, the building's acoustics, how fast they're talking. It can turn into a challenge. The insight, I think, is to latch on to a few core terms. These act like navigational beacons, helping you cut through the noise. For instance, when you hear boarding, that means you can actually get on the plane now. If they say final checks, that means the plane's pretty much ready, doors are closing soon, so you need to hurry. Then there's pre-boarding. Now, this isn't just about getting on first because you paid more, although sometimes that's part of it. It's actually a strategic way to manage the flow of passengers. It lets specific groups, maybe active military, business or first class, families with small kids, or passengers needing special assistance get settled before the main rush. It helps make the whole departure smoother and faster for everyone. Then final boarding, that's your cue, like get there now. And if you hear final boarding call, that's the absolute last chance, usually for specific passengers by name. You've only got minutes left.
Ah, okay. Those distinctions are really helpful for gauging the urgency. Good to know. And then there's flight status. You'll often hear delayed, which just means it's leaving later than scheduled. Or the dreaded canceled, meaning, well, no plane, you need a different flight. And often the reason given is inclement weather, which isn't just bad weather, is it? It's more formal.
Exactly. Inclement weather covers things like severe storms, heavy fog, maybe even volcanic ash clouds far away, stuff that directly impacts air traffic control and flight safety rules.
So what if you just don't understand an announcement? You miss it, or it's muffled. What do you do?
Right, don't panic. You can always try asking another passenger nearby. Something like, I'm sorry I didn't quite catch that. Did you hear what the announcement said? People are usually helpful, or probably better, head straight to an information desk or your gate agent. Say, excuse me, I think I heard an announcement about my flight number to destination. Do you know what they said?
That makes sense. And you mentioned earlier they often make announcements twice.
Yeah, often they do repeat important ones, especially gate changes or delays. So that gives you a second chance to catch the details. Keep an ear out.
Okay. Airports, yeah, they really are like mini cities. Sprawling, sometimes very confusing. Knowing how to ask for directions or find what you need, that can save so much time and stress. This is where being able to ask for directions clearly becomes like your airport superpower.
It really is. And asking for directions is about being precise. So some key phrases for finding important spots. Excuse me, could you tell me how to get to the security checkpoint? Or simply, where's gate number? You might need to ask, how do I get to the departure lounge? Or if it's a big airport, is there a shuttle to terminal number? When you land, it's how do I get to baggage claim? Or where is the baggage claim area? And for international flights, could you tell me how to get to passport control?
And what about finding, the basics, food, restrooms, maybe a bit of shopping?
Just as important for comfort, you can ask, could you tell me where the nearest cafe is? Or maybe, is there a restaurant near gate number? If you want a suggestion, try, can you recommend a good place to eat? For basics, where is the nearest restroom, please? And for shopping, where can I find a duty-free shop? Or even, do you sell souvenirs?
I definitely remember almost missing a flight once because I just could not figure out where gate B23 was in all the chaos. It's surprisingly easy to get turned around. So what's the quickest, maybe most efficient way to navigate these huge places when you're lost or maybe running late?
That's a great question, and honestly, a really common feeling. If the directions someone gives you seem confusing, don't be afraid to ask, could you show me on the map? Most airports have maps everywhere, big boards or information stands. Staff can easily point you in the right direction on one. If you are in a hurry, you can specifically ask for the quickest way. What's the fastest way to get to gate number? That's totally fine to ask. It's not being impatient. And always, always keep an eye out for an information desk nearby. They are fantastic resources. They can help with pretty much anything navigation-wise. The insight here isn't just knowing the phrases, it's knowing who to ask and how to ask for really clear, actionable information.
Good tips. Okay, so you've battled the terminal maze, found your gate, settled into your seat. Phew. But the English communication isn't over yet, right? Even up in the air, talking effectively with the flight attendants is key for a comfortable trip.
Definitely, they're there to help.
So when they come around offering a meal, they might ask something simple like chicken or pasta. You just state your choice. I'll have the chicken. Pretty easy. For drinks, maybe anything to drink. You could ask, what kind of soda do you have? And then order specifically a Diet Coke, no ice, please. If you don't understand what they said, maybe because of the engine noise or an accent, just a polite sorry or pardon, should get them to repeat it. And you can use can I have, or the slightly more polite could I have, for comforts. Like, can I have a pillow? Can I have a blanket? Can I have a pair of headphones or earbuds? Or could I have some water, coffee, tea? Maybe even, could I have some extra napkins? And if you need to get past someone in your row, just a simple, excuse me, usually with a little gesture indicating you need to stand up, works perfectly. It's about being direct, but still polite.
Okay, now let's jump to the final stages. You've landed. Next up, immigration, then baggage claim, and finally customs. Immigration, or sometimes called Border Patrol, that's where officers interview you. They decide if you can enter the country. Honesty here is just non-negotiable. Your answers need to paint a clear picture of your visit. Right. Immigration questions usually revolve around, let's say, three main things: your intent, your resources, and your history. So under intent, they'll ask, what is the purpose of your visit? Be honest, tourism, business, study, and make sure it matches your visa if you have one. They'll also ask, how long do you plan to stay in this country, and where will you be staying during your visit? Have hotel names or addresses ready. Under resources, they might ask, do you have sufficient funds to support your stay? Or maybe, how much cash are you carrying with you? Just make sure the amount seems reasonable for your trip length. And for history, expect questions like, have you visited this country before? And do you have family or friends in this country? Always have your return ticket easy to access, maybe a PDF or a screenshot on your phone. And be aware of restrictions. They might ask, are you bringing any food, plants, or other restricted items into the country? The real insight here is consistency. All your answers should line up and give a truthful picture of your trip.
I've definitely heard stories, sometimes, about slightly more unusual questions, especially, it seems, directed at women traveling alone. Things like, why are you traveling alone? Or is your family aware of this trip? Maybe even, are you planning to meet someone you met online? Or are you single or married? The key, I guess, is just remain calm, stay polite, be consistent with your answers, and have all your documents ready: passport, visa, hotel bookings, return ticket. And it's so important to remember, lying can have really serious consequences: deportation, losing money, even getting banned from the country. This is definitely a legal interview, not just a casual chat.
Precisely. It's serious business. Okay, once you're through immigration, you head to baggage claim. You can ask an airport staff member, where can I collect my luggage? Or check the signs and maybe ask someone near a carousel, is this the baggage claim for flight XYZ133? Now, if your luggage doesn't appear, which unfortunately does happen sometimes, you need to report it right away. Key phrases are, I can't find my luggage, or my baggage hasn't arrived. Go to the baggage services counter, have your documents ready. Here are my documents: my boarding pass, my baggage tag. Explain. My flight was from, and I arrived hours ago or minutes ago. Then could you help me, please? Be ready to describe your luggage clearly, mention the material, it's made of plastic or polyester, its size, it's small, medium, large, maybe approximate dimensions. It's about 50 centimeters by 40 centimeters, and definitely any distinguishing features. It has a luggage tag on it, it has wheels, it has a colorful pattern all over it, whatever makes it stand out. Finally, ask about the next steps. What should I do next? Who should I contact? Can I track my item and make sure they have your contact info? My phone number is. My local address is. The Insight. Be prepared to give clear, concise details, even though you might be feeling pretty stressed at that moment.
Right, good preparation helps even when things go wrong. Okay, the very last hurdle is usually customs. You'll probably fill out a customs declaration form. Usually it's just one form per family, right?
Right.
This form asks those critical yes-no questions about specific things you might be bringing in, like fruits, plants, seeds, certain foods, meat, animals, soil, or if you've recently been on a farm. These aren't just random checks. They're really vital for protecting local agriculture and preventing the spread of diseases or pests.
Absolutely critical. And another really crucial point, you must declare if you're carrying currency or monetary instruments like cash, traveler's checks, money orders worth over 10,000 US dollars, or the equivalent in foreign currency. This isn't usually about paying tax on the money itself. It's a measure against money laundering and terrorist financing. You'll likely need to file a specific report, often called a FI 105 in the US. You also have to declare any commercial merchandise, basically, anything you're bringing in to sell. And then there's duty. That simply a tax the country charges on certain imported goods. It might be to protect local businesses or just raise revenue. For U.S. residents returning, there's typically an $800 duty-free exemption per person. For international visitors, it's often lower, maybe around $100. Duty is usually charged on the value above that exemption, often starting with the first $1,000 over the limit.
And it's super important not to try and sneak things through. Failing to declare restricted items like those agricultural pests or maybe prohibited wildlife or outright prohibited items like drugs, certain weapons, obscene materials, things that violate intellectual property, the consequences can be really serious. We're talking fines, potentially even prison time, or at the very least, having the item seized. Honesty and transparency are definitely the best policy here. Okay, but on a slightly more fun note before we finish, let's talk duty-free shopping. It always feels like a perk of traveling, the promise of saving money. You often see claims of saving, like 20% off regular prices. Common items are cosmetics, alcohol, perfume, maybe fancy handbags, tobacco, chocolates, electronics like cameras, souvenirs, jewelry. But I've sometimes wondered, are the base prices sometimes higher to start with, so that 20% saving isn't quite as amazing as it sounds? Is there an insight into spotting a genuinely good duty-free deal?
That's a very sharp question. And yeah, you're right to be a bit skeptical sometimes. The insight is probably this. Do a quick price check if you can, especially on higher value items like electronics or luxury goods. Maybe check online prices on your phone before you buy. While some things, particularly alcohol and tobacco, often do offer real savings because you're not paying certain taxes, other categories, well, they might not be much cheaper than you'd find at a regular retail sale or online back home. So duty-free definitely offers convenience and a big selection right there in the airport, but yeah, it's not always the absolute rock bottom cheapest place to buy. When you're browsing, the usual shopping phrases work. Can you recommend something? How much does it cost? Can you show me some of their latest designs? Do you have that in stock? And if it's a gift, can you gift wrap it?
Okay, that's good to keep in mind. Be a savvy shopper, even at the airport. So, wrapping this all up, what does this mean for you, our listener? Hopefully you feel much more equipped now, not just with a list of phrases, but with the linguistic and sort of strategic tools to handle pretty much every stage of airport travel, from checking in right through to customs, and maybe even snagging a decent deal in duty-free.
Exactly. And just remember those core principles we talked about. Politeness is key. Speak as clearly as you can. Always be honest, especially with officials, and try to stay calm. Airport staff, flight attendants, border officers, they're generally there to help, or at least process you efficiently. So don't ever hesitate to ask for help if you genuinely need it. Being prepared with these phrases, and crucially, understanding the context behind them, it really does cut down on anxiety. It can turn what might feel like a stressful ordeal into just another, hopefully enjoyable part of your journey. Really, with these phrases in your toolkit, you're not just, moving through an airport building. You're moving more confidently through the world, equipped with the English you need to connect with it. So maybe the final thought is, what incredible new place will you explore next, knowing you have the confidence to communicate every step of the way?